Hey, this is Jeff Allmen, and here's another edition of Yoga on and off the mat here for YouTube. In a recent trip to Paradise Island, did some beach yoga, and I thought I'm going to do that here in Michigan. Well, just know, all sand is different. I'll walk you through this, but then also kind of give you some thoughts that I have along the way where I made some mistakes, and hopefully you won't. So starting here in child's pose, great way to start off a practice. Just really stretching the crown of your head as far from your hips as possible, finding space in your spine, left to right to find stretch on your side body. And then I'm really working a twist here with the thoracic spine, putting my down hand directly below my head and my up hand, just breathing. One breath, one movement is one possibility, or two breaths, one movement. You can extend this out a lot longer than I'm showing you. This is just a guide for maybe some beach, some morning, some after reading, after nap activity. You can see I'm a plus size human. Don't let your size stop you. Here I'm doing some side stretches, which are just really wonderful. Feel that all the way through your hip, all the way through your pinky finger. And here I'm doing a standing forward fold. You'll notice my angle's a little different, and this is where I noticed I'd started this more in the water and way different sand than Paradise Island. It's a lot fluffier, and it has a lot more give, and not a really good foundation. So through this workout, I actually put a little strain on my wrist, which I did some wrist stretches, and I'm making this narrative the day after, and my wrist is fine. But I wouldn't suggest that. If you can't have a good foundation for your feet and your hands, a nice level foundation, don't do it. And I was doing this and I was feeling good about it, but I was noticing as a teacher, as I'm going through this, some of the possible limitations or hazards. So just be really mindful. If you're going to do this on sand, make sure it's a hard packed sand. Make sure it's an even surface. And this sand, although it may look hard packed, you can see my feet and my hands are sinking into it. So having said that, I'm doing another standing side stretch. This is a halfway lift, flat back, and I'm going to go through a few different versions of Surya Namaskara A or Sun Salutation A, which is something I talk about. I've done videos on Instagram, but perhaps I haven't done it here yet on YouTube. So this is something to go through where you're going through some version of downward dog, which should be all about foundation and alignment. And then you see I took that through down dog, through an up dog, and then here I'm in a low lunge, which is great for hip flexors. I'm taking this low lunge, even taking my hands up and putting some movement through my pelvis, which would be just really nice to open up your hips. Number one complaint I get from everyone, not everyone, but so many of you people before you start doing yoga is hip issues, knee issues, shoulder issues. So I really focus my practices, my restorative practices, especially on hips and shoulders. One of my workshops that you may have taken is HSM Rising, which is hips, shoulders, mind. So a lot of the practices I do, you'll notice, are focusing on hips, shoulders, and mind. And you'll notice my belly here. I'm purposely, a lot of you were like giving me big congrats for being shirtless and being plus size. I've certainly gained the weight during our COVID quarantine. And you know what? Don't be ashamed of that. Don't let that keep you from getting back. I'm doing another version, in a low lunge, a version of a side stretch here on both sides. And I'm going through this rather quick so that this video is digestible, but you can pause it, you can come back to it, and you can be totally intuitive and freestyle about it. So adding more length, adding more movement that feels right for you, lingering longer in a spot, just really making yourself feel good and really just exploring what your body wants, trying to focus on having your eyes closed and noticing the light and the color on the back of your eyes, noticing your breath, the sensation of your breath on your lips and your nostrils. That's a Chaturanga Dandasana I did there where I went and shot my feet back. That's a little more advanced after you've been doing your Sun Salutation A's for maybe weeks or months or years. Here I'm doing a hip opener from Downward Dog. Downward dog eventually will be a resting pose. As you start, you're going to find it to be probably fairly difficult. And it's funny that we call it a resting pose. But after doing yoga, even in my fat state right now, I shouldn't say fat, but my larger state, downward dog still for me is very much a resting pose. But at the beginning, it's going to be difficult. And what's cool about yoga is you're really going to strengthen your core, your shoulders, your hips, all the synergistic muscles through your joints, your wrists, your ankles, your knees. So I I really suggest it for yogis of all sizes. Just take your time, and if you feel tearing, stabbing, shooting pain, back off and just lean into the breath. Make the breath your everything, the master of the practice for you. Take a lot of time to just ease into it. As I'm breathing, I like to say, breathe in as you open your body and breathe out as you close your body. And here I am again going through a Chaturanga Dandasana into my up dog. Your hands should be directly below your shoulders. It's a great stretch and opener for your abdominals. And then a little change of camera position here. But after doing those 3 Surya Namaskara A's or Sun Salutation A's, I'm doing some transverse lunges, some hip openers here to really even continue. So from a yogi squat or malasana, which we already did a video on that, so I didn't belabor that, but you can go back and check that out, which included crow. And here I'm doing some transverse lunges, which are wonderful. And again, for the length of the video, I'm just doing this a couple times on each side. I would say I always do this in class at least 3 times on each side and stay longer in each posture. And here I'm showing you what you could do as a thoracic twist as well. Whatever you do on one side, you want to do it on both. And truth is, I've already done yoga earlier in the day and did yoga again after this. So if I'm not exactly balanced in this, that's why, with a mind towards you guys who maybe are new to this. So you have chances to just pause and explore. We already visited Child's Pose. I'm doing it again just to kind of wash everything out, just to kind of clean everything out, because I'm going to build this into a little bit of a back bend. So I like to go back to cat-cow or Child's Pose between doing forward folds and back bends, because your back, you don't want to keep bending it back and forth like a hanger where it'll snap one day. So take your time as you go between opening the front and the back of your body. And here I'm going into a version of camel where you would normally put maybe your hands on your feet or your backs of your legs. Here I'm going with the sand because I'm on the beach, and just really opening my heart, my front body, letting my back drop down. You can see my belly as I'm breathing. Nice, big, deep breaths. Gorgeous. And you could spend a lot longer. You do a few rounds of those. And then after I do that, I'm coming into a cat-cow to wash out what I did with my back. Really arching the thoracic back up in the cat, really letting the abdominals go in the cow, and really breathing through it. That is key. And if you do nothing else in this entire practice, do the cat-cow. And here's what I was talking about. This was hard on my wrists. This sand was not the best foundation. So you'll see me kind of stretching out my wrists there, and I did that throughout the practice. If anything is ever painful on your wrist, don't do it. Don't do it. That's just my one piece of advice there, above all. Is just lean into your breath, and you can always lay in Shavasana and just breathe on the beach. That's yoga too. Namaste. Thanks for following along. Hope to see you again soon. Stay curious. Be wonderful.